We're going to keep things moving here on Box to Row. We're joined by a gentleman in his 6th season as the head men's basketball coach at Winston-Salem State. Right now, the Rams are second in the CIAA's Southern Division, looking to close out the season on a high note, perhaps another Southern Division championship. He's won 2 CIAA Tournament championships as the head coach at Winston-Salem State. As a matter of fact, he's in a class by himself. So you've got Lonnie Blow, the head men's basketball coach currently at Virginia State, the first to win a CIAA championship at 2 different schools. Then Luke DeLessio, the current head men's basketball coach at Fayetteville State, the third to do it. This gentleman joining us is the second to do it. But what he's done is won 2 at Winston-Salem State. Cleo Hill Jr. joining us here on Box to Row. What's going on, Coach Hill?
Donald, thanks for having me, man. All is well. All is well.
Good. I'm glad to hear. I know you guys were in India. I want to talk with you about that. Look, you've been around the CIAA a good little while as a player at North Carolina Central, and a good one, I might add, as an assistant coach at Shaw, then a head coach at Shaw, then now a head coach at Winston-Salem State. I don't know if it's parity this year, but I mean, you know, you have teams in the CIAA. I guess it's parity, right? Like, so many teams are so close this year. Nobody's running away with this thing.
Yeah, no, I think this is one of those strong years for our league, Donald. I think there are no easy wins, north or south, top to bottom. All the coaches are really good and experienced. I think we have 8 coaches that have won CIAA championships. And the 4 new coaches, man, they're the young, hungry guys, man. They're recruiting hard. They're preparing hard. So there have been no easy nights all year in our league.
Yeah, no doubt about it. One of the hungry coaches, you all split. Dunlap down at Claflin, of course, you all split that particular your series. And of course, Claflin leads right now. I know you're trying to catch them. Indy, how was Indy, man? Like, I know that had to be super duper tight, and you got the victory.
Yeah, I woke up really Monday, travel day, and even last night I woke up and it still seems like a dream, Donald. It's I'm trying to put it into words, but I think the biggest thing for me was just the expression on my student athletes' faces from task to task, whether it was our game against Union, which was a packed house, or whether it was career development day, whether it was the photo shoot, the All-Star game, the 3-point contest, dunk contest, just the look on their faces, even before the game, pregame, with Ant-Man coming in the locker room and Steph Curry, just, the experience that they soaked up, really did it for me.
Yeah, and for you, I mean, you're not, but I got to take you back. Was it this past summer, fall, when First Take came to Winston-Salem State? You did a good job. I know, they had you answering some question, maybe the top 5 or something like that. I know you had to go again. I know your top 5 would have really been different, but to the point, a lot of exposure happening at Winston-Salem State University.
Oh, my goodness. I think that probably kicked it off. Stephen A. Smith, our proud alum, man, he's always giving back, always speaking positive about Winston-Salem State and the CIAA and HBCU in general. But then we went from there to, I think it was probably Connecticut first, or it might be the other way around. Connecticut with Chris Paul, another alum, huge event. And then we went to New York for the Harlem Classic, which was also huge. And then now this is just what we're trying to provide for our student athletes. Any way we can have them have a great experience here at Winston-Salem State, we are trying to do that. And thus far, we've done it.
Cleo Hill Jr. in his 6th season as the head men's basketball coach at Winston-Salem State. He joins us here on Box to Row. It looked like, I don't know, maybe this was from a distance. And of course, we must mention Jalen Austin's the current HBCU National Player of the Week, but Isaac Parson earlier in the season it looked like you guys may have been sort of, and maybe that was just me outside looking and having known you for many years. Looked like you were kind of trying to run away with this thing, and then you lost 3 or 4. So how were you able to kind of get things back on track?
Yeah, I think we we swept the North. I don't think we haven't done that since I've been here. I haven't done it since I've been at Shaw, that 2011-12 season. We weren't really aware of the Southern Division. The North has usually been kind of stronger, but the South is really strong this year. And we stumbled, and mainly on the road, which is a little surprising for me, because we've always been pretty solid on the road. So we had a few bumps, and I think after the Livingstone game, I think we played St. Aug first, and then Livingstone second, and where we lost at home. And that was definitely an eye-opening experience, not only for us as a team and coaching staff, but our fans in the game center. We don't lose there often. But I think after that, we had some meetings, we had some individual meetings, some small group meetings, position meetings, and I think we kind of got some things out in the open, what we wanted to do, and some of our mishaps, and ever since then, I think we've been playing very well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, as you mentioned, very tough CIAA as a whole, and certainly in the Southern Division. So let me talk about Jalen Austin. Like, of course, he's the HBCU National Player of the Week. I mean, he's been tremendous. Not only, and I had to go back, he's been on both of your championship teams. Like, that doesn't happen in today's college basketball, even in the CIAA. Speak to what he's meant, not only this year, averaging 17.5 points per game, which is 3rd in the CIAA, but what he's meant to this program.
It's a lot, Donal. I think it starts with his demeanor. I wouldn't call him shy by any stretch, but he's very, very respectful, and he's grateful for everything that he has done and what he's gotten. His work ethic is unreal. He's huge on weightlifting. He's huge on nutrition. He's in the gym. He watches film, and he's the first to want to do community service. So for our program, he's exactly the type of young man that we want to recruit. He'll be graduating this year. Great GPA, just an all-around good young man, great student, and great athlete.
And then I mentioned Isaac Parson. Look, he's running the show for you, and lead. I don't know if he's leading the CIAA in assists, but I would assume at 123 assists, or he's up there at least.
Yeah, Isaac is second, right? Well, I haven't looked in about 2 games. Last time I looked, he was second. He had a huge assist game out there in Indy. But I just think his maturation is right where it needs to be. As a senior, his leadership has gotten better. His whole demeanor on the basketball court and managing a game. Managing the tempo, managing the clock, shot clock, in timeouts. Like, he's really matured over the last probably season and a half. He's also a senior as well, but he does have 1 more year of eligibility, and we're hoping that he's back for another year to be around.
Cleo Hill Jr., the head men's basketball coach at Winston-Salem State, joining us here on the program. How do you approach this, Coach Hill, in terms of the players? It's almost like with the transfer portal, and we've seen how it was back in the day. The CIAA had a 2-year transfer rule. Forget about that. Remember, you got a lot of players transferring from one team to another in the league. and they're allowed to do that. That is their prerogative. But how do you go about sort of it's almost like you got to re-recruit. You may not, but coaches as a whole have to re-recruit their players for the next season.
Yeah, no, the transfer portal has changed a lot, and even at the Division I, in which we had our Division I transfers. We have two now. Jalen Austin is a Division I transfer, and Amaji Dodd. So now they're passing the rule that you can transfer twice without sitting out. So I think that will hurt Division II in terms of getting Division I transfers. But you're right, we have to re-recruit guys. I think the good thing right now is you can get a very good high school student athlete that you probably weren't able to get before, because most of the Division I's and Division II's, they want the experienced student athlete with some mileage on them, possibly Division I or Division II, good weight program, and a lot of experience. So we are looking at the high school route right now. But it's changed everything. It's changed recruiting in general. But I think what you said is probably the biggest thing. You have to re-recruit your players every year, and it can be difficult. A lot of guys think the grass is greener on the other side, but here at Winston-Salem State, we just feel like we have a good product. We have a good product to offer. So even with having a good product, we're not immune to have to re-recruit our guys.
Yeah. Couple of last thoughts. Your thoughts. Got the game on Thursday. You've come back to Raleigh 5 times now. So maybe the luster isn't there as much, but I know it's still a special place for you. And that was a really good ball game the last time you guys hooked up in January. Your thoughts on the matchup against Shaw?
Yeah, no, Bobby's going to be prepared as always. He's always been one of those coaches, he and his coaching staff, that are going to be prepared for whatever we have. But we feel like we're going to be prepared as well. I know they had a rough game last night where they had to come back in the second half and take care of St. Aug at home, which was definitely tough to do. Chucky's had those guys rolling, and they were undefeated at home. But we're expecting a close game. We're expecting a hostile environment for their senior day. And for myself personally, just some great memories there at Shaw University. On a sadder note, coming back, I won't see the man that hired me, Al Carter. That's top level person, man, and athletic director, great for Shaw University and great for our conference as a whole. And also, I think that Steve also passed track coach that was there for a long time. So, miss seeing those faces. But then there'll be some faces that I'm sure I'll be happy to see and happy to speak with. But in the end, it's going to be about business, and we're going to look to come in there and get a win and spoil their senior night.
No doubt. And then Saturday's matchup at Livingstone to kind of close out the season may be an opportunity for Winston-Salem State to win the Southern Division.
Well, we'll see. Another hostile environment. Coach Stinson and Bobby are CIAA champions, so they're going to be prepared. But I think that's Livingstone's senior night as well. So we're going to have to deal with a level of emotion that we haven't dealt with this particular season. And we're expecting 2 dogfights. And at the same time, we want to be the spoiler.
Last thought, and it's a multi-layered question, and we really appreciate the time, Coach Hill. Your father, Cleo Hill Sr., I know you got a lot of love, I'm sure, when you were in Indy because of what he did. And then, of course, you're at his alma mater in Winston-Salem State. Tell us who Cleo Hill Sr. was and who he meant to you.
Well, I think for for most people, they know him as the basketball player. I just never knew him as that. He was always just dad and the coach to me. But I think in my journey as a basketball player and a coach, our conversations were less about basketball and more about education as a student athlete and graduating. And as a coach, it was more about building character of these young men. He's definitely missed. There are times when I need to have those kind of conversations with him, just as a husband, father, and as a basketball coach that I can't have. So I lean on players that he coached, players that he played with, like Thomas Montero, Ted Blunt, who recently passed away. Even Earl. I lean on those guys. Al Roseborough. I lean on those guys to kind of get confirmation that, I'm making them proud, being the head coach of his alma mater. So those are things that come across my mind on a daily basis. And I'm glad that I have people that I can reach out to that knew him very well as a coach, as a person, or as a teammate.
Cleo Hill Jr., again, in his 6th season as the head men's basketball coach at Winston-Salem State. He joins us here on Box to Row. The Rams are going to be on the road last 2 games, Thursday at Shaw, Saturday at Livingstone to close out the season right before next week's CIAA Tournament. Coach Hill, as always, man, appreciate the time. Continued success to you and the Rams.
Donald, thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure speaking with you on your platform, and you're doing a great job. You're doing a hell of a job for a long time. Keep it up, man, as always.
I appreciate it.